Spending my summers in Ridgefield House was very meaningful. I have memories in my heart that will always be there. It's a wonderful experience. My grandparents lived here. This is their home, W.C. and Ann Walkup. And prior to that, the home belonged to the McClung family, McClungs. I had a lot of good times in this house. My grandfather would, he and I shared a lot of good moments together, and I've learned a lot from his teachings, what he taught me. He was the son of a Methodist preacher, and he was in the banking business and the Savings and Loan Association business. He was with Home Federal in 1938 until 1983 when he died. He was a speaker. He spoke around the East Tennessee area quite a bit, and he wrote a column, Bill Walkup Writes, in the Saturday column. He wrote that from 1954 up until his death, right before his death in 1983. Well, the house was built by Charles McClung in 1909, I believe, but I would see things in the house that were here when the McClungs lived here. I don't know when he died exactly, but my grandfather bought it shortly after Ms. McClung, his widow, died. She lived here as a permanent residence her later years, from what I understand. It was a really neat place to play. There's an old road here, and old barns. A dairy was here on the place. There's a pump outside that I always played with, and it still works today. You can just pump the water out of there to beat the band, and it works real well. But I enjoyed ringing the old bells. I did that quite a bit. But it was a real interesting. Spending a lot of time in this house.
Did you imagine the McClungs living here? How they must have been very wealthy people to build a house this size in that era.
No, they must have been, but I think they had the wherewithal and the means to do such. Apparently they did. And it was just fortunate that my grandfather and grandmother, my grandmother was actually the one who was more interested in my grandfather. He didn't want to take on this project. He didn't want this size of house. They lived down by the university on Mount Castle for many years, and but she found the house and fell in love with it, and she wanted it, so she ended up with this. Was Ann Walkup. And there's a story, there's some woods down here, another lot, that little story that goes with it, that when my grandfather and grandmother bought the property originally, this other lot down here, this wooded lot down to in the front, to the right of the main porch, did not belong to them. They didn't buy that. And she kept on my grandfather about, said, I want you to buy this lot before somebody buys it. There'll be somebody buying this thing, and I'll see their back porch and their clothesline. All the clothes will be drying out there. That's the only thing I can see will be their clothes. And she went on and on. He never would buy it. And she said, now my father left me some money, and I've got a small inheritance from my father, and I want you to buy that lot for me. And this was getting close to her birthday, but it was a week or two ahead of time, and they were eating out on the sun porch, eating dinner like they generally did, eating their supper out there. And she says, Bill, did you buy that lot for me? I told you to buy, asked you to buy for, been asking you about. He looked up real slow and he said, Ann, I'm sorry that lot was sold today. I'm not going to tell you what she said, but she just, I told you, Bill, I told you. Now look what's happened. Sure as the world, there'll be somebody's clothesline with their dirty clothes drying right off my front porch. He didn't say yeah, he just left it at that. She kind of, yes, she got over it, but a few days after that was her birthday, and a little tie box was a deed to that lot down there.